Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And I've got a personal brand strategist and social media influencer on the show today, Dave Polykoff, coming out of Pennsylvania. And he's got really interesting, he's a personal brand strategist. He's also helps clients develop content strategy and sales funnels. And so today's talk is going to be all for the marketers and the digital entrepreneurs and people looking to accelerate their brand and business through content, social media. And I'm really happy to have Dave on the show. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you so much, Chris. Excited to be here. And yeah, great introduction. I don't know if I would call myself an influencer, but we all strive to persuade and convince online as much as possible. But from the traditional influencer standpoint, I'm working my way up to that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So, kind of introduce yourself and talk about, what you do and how you serve clients, and we'll dive right into some of the strategies for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a personal brand agency called Zen Post. You can check it out at zenpost.com. And largely, we're working with coaches, consultants who have a high ticket offer. And there's some sort of expertise behind, they've had years and years of helping clients solve some sort of problem. But they have the difficulty translating that expertise into content and showing up online with the messaging and the content needed to attract their ideal client and convince them that they are the solution for them and then convert them into a new client. A lot of times these consultants are relying on referrals, waiting for the phone to dial. So we help them be able to show up with a personal brand, express their expertise through content, and then drive that new following to a lead and eventually a client. So largely what that involves is a few different areas that we focus on: messaging, content creation, and just creating kind of your digital billboards to get people to know what you do. And so we can dive into that all today.
Yeah, I really love that this kind of digital billboards that you described. So, the first thing we talk about is you talk about personal brand blueprint, and you talk about how to attract, convince, and convert your ideal client. Talk about what that is, and we'll talk about your five-step system to launching your personal brand.
Yeah. So when we talk about this digital blueprint, really it involves kind of these elements that you need to have in place in order to go from 0 to 1 with your personal brand. A lot of people, like I said, are passive spectators online, and they want to show up, they want to start publishing content that's going to resonate with their audiences, and they want to be able to drive eyeballs to some sort of offer that they can then convert, but they just don't know where to start, right? So they're just kind of spectators for now. So to go from 0 to 1, you really need to have kind of like these like three pillars in place. One of which is understanding who you are speaking to, understanding your client's pain points. Um, a lot of times we think we know, and we start creating content and we're just speaking to deaf ears, right? So really just understanding who your client is, what their pain points are, what their desires are, and then knowing who you are. So a large part of content creation is storytelling, and a large part of that is giving your origin stories of success. And so you have to have kind of a reflective moment of like, what have I done? What have I accomplished? And what were the resources, the methods, the beliefs that led me to that success? And then how do I translate that into content? So yeah, so that first kind of step is to really understand who you're speaking to and what you actually have to say. So that's the most important point that we've been, preaching is a lot of times people go into their personal brand without really taking that first step of understanding what those points are. And then, yeah, next is the digital billboards, as we mentioned, right? So now that you know what you have to say and who you're saying it to, the next step is to actually translate that into assets that demonstrate exactly what that is. So few areas that we focus on are your social profile, right? So depending on where you're focused, what social channel you're focused on, largely those that are in like the B2B space, consultants, coaches, people that we work with, LinkedIn is your number one channel for that, right? So that's where we start is, optimizing a profile, making sure that you have a banner image that represents what you do, a title that represents what you do and who you do it for, about sections, featured sections, things like that. So really, your LinkedIn profile is your kind of personal brand sales landing page. You really want to make sure that that is optimized so that when people do find you, they know what you do, who you do it for, and then they're taking the next steps to opt into your offer. Additional assets to have are things like a personal website, so that we can get into that today. But personal website really ends up being kind of the keystone to your personal brand and is really necessary for every personal brand to have for your content strategy. Again, we can get into that later. But and then lastly, a lead magnet. So this is something that is going to demonstrate what you can do for your client at like a micro scale, so much so that kind of the next step after they've consumed your lead magnet is that they're interested in using your service. So those are kind of like the billboards that I was mentioning that you really want to make sure you have in place. Those are just like set it and forget it assets where you don't have to like maintain them too much. And then lastly, now that you've understood what it is you actually have to say and who you're saying it to, you translated that into these assets where people can go and consume and understand what it is you do and if they should use you or not, or even at minimum follow you. Lastly is to actually attract those eyeballs to that digital billboard, right? It's like creating the highway to your billboard. And that's done three different ways. One is creating content, and that's organically people are finding you and going back to your social profile. The other way is to engage with other accounts that are on these social platforms. And then lastly is to do outbound. So find new people who match your ideal client avatar, reach out to them, see if they're interested. At worst, they're going back to your social profiles and seeing what you're about, opting into your lead magnets, and you're capturing that lead for follow up later on. So those are the three main pillars of your personal brand, and something that is largely where we focus our services.
Yeah, that's a great introduction. And so, moving the conversation forward, you know, um, what, what are the key things when, people launch a personal brand? Because, a lot of times, there's so many channels and there's so many formats. And what should people focus on when they're launching their personal brand? Do you have a five-step system?
Yeah, so I mean that those are kind of the three core areas that you want to focus on. That's largely the steps that we take, and then within that there are kind of micro steps. So again, um, the first step is to understand who you are from just a historical standpoint, right? What are the elements that have allowed you to garnish your success over the years? And you're going to be looking at what are the resources you've accumulated, what are the methods that you've created, and what are the um, blanking on the last one. Yeah, what are the beliefs that you've captured over your time, over your expertise? So these are things that you want to make sure you're listing out, and we have templates for that to help you with that. But largely, you want to list out things that are the resources, the methods, and the beliefs that have helped you become successful in that trade over time. And then you want to translate that into content. And that is going to be the next step, which is largely translating your expertise into content, which is top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel content. And top of funnel content, I actually just posted about this today. So top of funnel content is largely just going to be translating again those success stories into content. I used to struggle with X, and that X is what your client is currently struggling with. Then I found resource. So again, going back to those resources and beliefs and methods that we talked about, that element was able to then allow you to get benefit, which now leads to, your where you are today in your success journey, right? So now you're given this origin story of how you became successful, what resources you picked up along the way, and that's your top of funnel content. That's going to be how people are going to associate you with the industry and as a thought leader. And then if people stumble upon that content, then they're going to say, okay, this person is a worthy follow for an area that I'm struggling with and I want to learn more about. And then now that you've captured them as a follower, you want to lead them into your middle of funnel content. And that middle of funnel content is, if top of funnel content was you talking the talk, essentially saying, hey, I can do this thing. Middle of funnel content is where you're going to start to demonstrate that you can actually do it. So again, if it's saying, I found this resource which allowed me to do blank, and now that's why I'm successful. In your middle of funnel content, you're going to start actually demonstrating specifically how you use that resource to do the thing that you said you did. So this is, again, just showing a little bit of receipts. Hey, I actually can back up the claims I have. And then that bottom of funnel content is saying, not only can I do it for myself, but I can help clients do it as well. And so that's where you're incorporating like case studies and all that kind of stuff. So that's your content strategy in a nutshell, essentially. And then again, lastly, you can create content, but it doesn't mean people will come, right? So you need to be engaged out there and actually going out and treating yourself as though you're running for president. And I know that's a hot topic right now, but think about from the political standpoint, if you're a politician, if step one is to understand what your political views are and what you have to say and how you want to change the world. Step two was translating those positions into public content that people can consume and go, okay, this is someone I might be interested in. Step three there is from a political standpoint, you have politicians going out there and actually shaking hands with their constituents and going and speaking on panels and meeting the people, right? So you need to do that from a digital standpoint. And so go out there, find accounts that are related to your industry and do digital handshakes, leave comments, engage with their posts, find new accounts that are that are in the similar vein and connect with them and create communities. So again, kind of treat yourself as a politician in that standpoint, that just because you have strong opinions on something and you preach those things doesn't mean people will care about it or even know that it exists. So you still need to get out there and shake some hands.
That's a really interesting analogy, and I was just I was just thinking about when you talked about what's going on in the States right now. One thing that's really interesting is this area of AI, and AI has allowed people to scale in quantity, and now it's these large language models are getting so good that the quality is actually surpassing that of original content creators. So where does AI fit into all of this? And because now we've got you can create, like I was able to create an AI avatar that can clone my voice, and then I can just kind of use a cartoon or a picture to deliver a webinar. Where does it fit into all of that?
Yeah, it's a very hot topic right now. And, kind of going back to what I was saying before, um, in terms of your content strategy, speaking on hot topic points is another great element to the top of funnel content that you should do. So, yeah, to answer your question though, how I see AI content, specifically in content creation and your personal brand, is the idea that your AI removes the personal in personal branding. So I don't advise to use AI to speak for you. whether that be creating the full content itself and you're just having ChatGPT create the content and you're pressing publish, or if it's creating like the avatar talking head video type thing. Largely because the most important reason that someone will use you over a competitor is the little quirks and just elements to you that they vibe with over your competitor, right? You know, we're living in a age of educational democratization, essentially, right? Like there are hundreds of people right now who claim to be AI experts and creating these AI courses. Same thing with you name whatever topic. There's people out there that are creating courses and books and such around that topic. That's what personal branding is. But not everyone is going to connect with how everyone approaches a topic or how someone communicates, etc. The little quirks of you are what people are going to vibe with the most. You can't education or facts are facts, right? You know, if it's a fact, you don't own it, right? So then the competitor next door can say the same thing. So what's going to separate you from being able to present that fact in a different way or have someone vibe with you more than your competitor is you showing up authentically and presenting the actual you. And I say that just to kind of wrap back around with the idea of like AI can mimic that slightly. You know, there are ways that AI is able to replicate your voice to a degree. But there's just little quirks to you that AI is never going to be able to pick up on. So I advise on using AI. If you're going to use AI, use it as the really smart friend in the room that you would lean on when you need help with creating your content, right? So if you're crafting a post, you might lean over and be like, hey Jerry, what's like a really great analogy for blank, right? And then he's like, oh, just say this, and you're like, oh, thank you. That's what AI should be, right? It's the tool to help support creating content. But in the sense of it creating the full post for you, I kind of advise against that. And the other large element for that, and I'll end on this, is because AI can help you go from 0 to 1. It can help you get that like draft. It helps you with that empty white page blinking cursor problem. It gives you this spark about the idea that you can then roll with after that. That's great. But what you really want to be working on, especially if you want to be a content creator, is understanding why a post works the way it does, why a post did well, why someone else's post did well. You want to understand the frameworks and templates of what good content looks like. And the only way to do that is you need to go through the process of creating content yourself. You can't rely on someone else to create the content because then you don't really ever understand what makes good content. So yeah, leaning on AI too much, it just removes that personal side of things. And it also just doesn't help you become a better content creator in the long run.
Yeah, really, really love that. And what's, like I said, it's kind of like a tool it can't replace, and kind of like talking points or just like an assistant. Love, dude, it can't replace you. So always have your personal touch. And so final thoughts and comments. How can people find you and follow you and reach out to you? And kind of talk about what sets you apart, because there's you mentioned there's so many people marketing their expertise, personal brand strategy, social media. So how, what's the X factor for you, and how can people find you and check out your work, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say kind of a final point that if anyone's interested in trying to establish their personal brand, establish a content strategy on their own, one of the main pieces of advice that I would give is the same advice that makes a fitness routine the best fitness routine for you. And it's whatever will allow you to remain the most consistent. So when they talk about a fitness routine, if you're going to go out there and start trying to run 10 miles every single day or, do 100 push-ups or whatever, you're not going to be able to maintain that. So same thing with your content strategy. Keep it simple, stupid, the KISS method. Start very simple, whatever will help you maintain a content strategy and show up consistently. That's just the one piece of advice that I would give anyone who's starting their content strategy. But if you're looking to have a bit more support behind that, an actual system that will help, again, attract, convince, and convert leads on LinkedIn, then I would say the best way to connect with me is simply by going to my LinkedIn account. You can look me up on LinkedIn, Dave Polykoff, and just follow what I'm doing. Seeing, I guess the proof is in the pudding. The best way that I'm promoting Zen Post right now is through my own personal brand. So yeah, just follow me on LinkedIn. If you have any questions or anything about personal branding, my DMs are open. Shoot me a DM. And that's largely how I love to connect with people. And yeah, if there's an opportunity to work together, then great. If not, love to just be kind of a guiding hand.
Awesome. I really enjoyed this conversation, and be sure to check out Dave's socials and his work. Give him a like and follow. And thanks so much for an intriguing conversation.
Absolutely, Chris. Thank you for having me on.